Yeah. All right, so we'll just have just some fun. How's that?
Sounds like a deal.
You want me to when you're ready?
Oh, no, I'm ready.
Welcome to Sports Econ 101. This is the show where we discuss sport topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to be with you here today. Yeah, always fun to talk sports.
Absolutely. And today it's just you and me, kiddo.
Just you and me talking sports.
And last week you promised that you would tell us a story about Reggie Jackson, which we're going to have you tell in the second segment.
Sure.
But for now, you got to hold that thought.
Okay, hold that thought.
I want to let the audience know at each commercial break, we're going to be asking you a sports trivia question where we're going to be giving away vacations to the first email with the correct answer. And the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. The vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover those housekeeping expenses. Check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com. You can listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio, Sports Byline USA, CRN, and many other stations around the country. And today's trivia theme, again, just like last week, is miscellaneous sports questions. So we're going to have just a bunch of fun questions here, and we're going to see if you, Bruce, we're going to see if you know the answer to this question.
I'll try.
Right?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay, this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding, get this, over 8%.
Wow.
In today's market, over 8%.
That's impressive.
Secured by real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com, which, by the way, I've had my IRA with them for 2 years now. The checks come in like clockwork.
Nice.
Every single month. Can you imagine what I earn in a month is more than what most people earn in a year in the bank?
Yeah, and the banks do not pay that well.
Yeah, so
they're safe, but they don't pay that well.
Exactly. So these are fairly conservative mortgage investments. Again, 60% or less loan to value, so it's not high leverage. Check them out again at pacificprivatemoney.com. Tell them Edward sent you. They'll treat you well. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, and we will be right back.
All right.
Just give a little filler time in there. Okay.
We're grooving.
Sleep for the 15th. Away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Now, Bruce, we promised the audience last week, we teased them in the first segment that we were going to have you tell a story about Reg Jackson.
I was lucky enough to cover Reggie a lot in the later stages of his career. When he was with the Yankees, I was working in New York at the time. That was his last year. Dave Winfield's first year. They won their last pennant. For a long time, they didn't win again until Derek Jeter and all those other great players came along in the mid-'90s. But Reggie then moved back out to the West Coast, played for the Angels for a number of years, and then came and finished his career off where he had started with the Oakland A's in 1987. And it was interesting, his last game, I'll never forget this, in the fall of '87 at Oakland Coliseum, Reggie hit a clean single right up the spine of the diamond. And afterward, I think the A's won the game, and afterward everybody was gathered around asking him questions. How did it feel to, your last game to get the hit? And he was talking about it quite effusively, as Reggie was wont to do. And I asked him, I said, so that your last game, a major league hit, that's pretty exciting, huh? Walking away from the game with a base hit. He goes, I guess this is the official announcement of your retirement. He looks at me kind of disdainfully. He says, I'm not announcing anything official. Not to you. You're a nice fellow, but I'm not announcing anything official to you. I said, okay, fine. That's all right. He goes, I have a reason, a purpose for that. I said, well, I can respect that. Thank you. Thank you. As soon as I do make an announcement, you'll be the first MF I call.
Had to add that MF.
Yeah,
in
that
there.
MF, but it wasn't MF. It was,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure it
but that
was.
was Will. That was Reggie. But Reggie was, you know, Reggie was Reggie. Reggie was. First year I ever went to an A's game, 1968. They moved out to Oakland, and I went and saw the A's play. And here was this young, strapping, 22-year-old kid, just out of college. I think he went to Arizona State, and man, he just in '69, you know, for the first half of the season, I think he had 37 home runs, and people were talking about, my God, he's going to break Ruth's record. He didn't, but he captured the imagination, and you think about it, he helped take the A's to 3 World Series championships. Then he took the Yankees to a couple, actually 2, and then came close with the Angels. You know, a couple of times they got into the conference or the ALCS, didn't make it, but yeah, what a great career this guy had. MVP in the '77 series with the 3 homers in Game 7. Yeah, he didn't strike out a lot. He did hit under 300, but when the lights were on and you knew what was going on when Reggie Jackson was playing, it was a special thrill to be able to cover him, watch him, see him grow through the game, and now he's in his 70s, and it blows me away.
Yeah.
I just can't believe Reggie is in his close to it. Anyway, late 60s.
It's wild to think that his last year was McGuire's rookie year.
That's right. Very good. Yeah, McGuire's rookie year was 1987, and Jose Canseco's
86.
86. Yeah.
And, I think it's kind of wild is they had 3 rookies of the year. 86 Canseco, 87 McGuire. Who was 88?
Walt Weiss.
Walt Weiss.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty good. I mean, 3. I can see Billy Bean wasn't.
No, that was Billy. Actually, Billy was on that '89 team. He was a utility player who played part time. Good guy. Billy Bean, in case our listeners don't know, is the general manager of the A's, and he owns a piece of the team. He's been the general manager since about 1997.
Okay.
But
Moneyball.
Yeah, he's having a rough year. The A's are having a very, very rough year. I think when you trade away all those, they went for it last year, and they had a lead in the wild card game at Kansas City. They couldn't hold on to it, and then the whole thing fell apart. And they traded away. They were going for it, but John Lieber's gone, and Josh Donaldson's gone, and so on and so forth.
And why did they trade Cespedes?
Well, they traded Cespedes because they thought they could get some pitching, and in fact, they did get some pitching. The problem was they left a big gaping hole in the lineup, and there were injuries right after that, and it precipitated a whole bunch of problems that they had. And they had the best record. It's interesting to note that they had the best record in Major League Baseball at the All-Star break in 2014. Now they have, as we speak, they have the worst record in the American League. They are hopeless. I mean, there's no, they give up on the season, and yet their fans show up. They get 25,000 people, hardcore fans. You got to give those folks credit for showing up.
We're still waiting for Sal Bando to show up.
Sal Bando, Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, Ricky Henderson. Bring them all back.
The problem is though, like injuries. I mean, that's a big wild card because you just never know when that's going to happen.
They've had some problems with that, and Edward, they've lost a lot of close games. I think their record in one-run games last I saw was something like 5-21.
Ooh.
We saw a game the other night. I was watching a Giants game from Atlanta on television, and the Giants had a 2-run lead with 2 out and 2 strikes on A.J. Pierzynski. He hits a home run to tie it. Then they come back in the 11th and retake the lead over the Braves. And then in the bottom of the 11th, what do the Braves do? They get a man aboard, and then some guy named Adonis Garcia. I've never even heard of this guy. It's a game-winning homer. That's what I love about baseball, that the guys come out of nowhere to become heroes for the night. It's great. Great sport.
Just thinking about this for just a minute, because Reggie, wasn't he eventually a DH?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he was kind of a liability in the field. He had a good arm, but not great at getting to the ball. I mean, early in his career, he was much better, but he had some injury problems and just age. The guy played until he was almost 40 years of age, and you play that long and you're going to wear down.
Maybe that's why they invented the DH. Had nothing to do with pitchers. They just wanted to keep some of these guys in for a long time.
I was 21 years old when the DH came into being in 1973. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. I understand the reason for it. It puts more offense in the game, but it slows the game down. There's more scoring, and it creates a half a player. Pitchers don't learn how to hit, and managers don't get to use double switches, and you get guys that are half a player. They can't, you put them in the outfield and they couldn't catch a fly ball to save their life. You put them at first base and they might have an idea of where to go if the ball is thrown to them. But most of these guys are half a player. I just don't agree with it. But it's not going away, so there's no point in arguing about it.
Well, but at least you have the National League, you have the pitchers who can.
And it's not going to change, and that's good. I love watching Madison Bumgarner hit, or Mike Leake, who the Giants just picked up from Cincinnati, is actually a couple of years ago, he hit over 300. So, why can't these guys learn how to hit? Some guys are pretty good at hit. Don Drysdale, I think, hit something like 16 or 17 home runs. Bob Gibson, Hall of Famer, same thing. They were both good hitters, and so you know
They had to be. I mean, because
that's true.
You
Well,
just bunt all the time.
no, you can't bunt all the time. You got to swing away. Definitely.
So they're not in favor of the DH.
I'm not a big fan of the DH, but it's at every level of baseball now, in every league, at every level, except for the National League, which is the oldest league in baseball, and it's not going to change. And that's the beauty of the difference between the National and American League. You know,
but I do gotta say, I do have to say,
you do got to say,
I do gotta say, in the national, if you're playing in a National League park
Right.
for the All-Star game,
right?
I don't know why they have to have pitchers hit for that.
Now that I can understand.
You want to
know,
see more players,
and it's an
play.
exhibition game. It
Yeah.
used to mean something in the old days. I mean, I'm talking about up until the mid '70s. Guys would play; the starters would play 6 innings.
Yeah.
And they really wanted to win those games. I remember the National League won something like 16 out of 17 All-Star games during a stretch of the 60s and early 70s. And, you know, now it's just for fun. I mean, it's fun.
I mean, yeah, because the thing about, you get the home field advantage. How many teams are going to be in the World Series? Only 2.
Yeah.
I mean, as it turns out, the Giants seem to have picked it just perfectly.
Yeah.
Of course, this is an odd year, so they're not allowed to.
Well,
win.
the Giants have been the visiting team. They've had only the home games in the middle. All 3 times they've won the World Series, and they've had to clinch each one of those World Series on the other team's field. Actually, that was not true. I take that back. In 2012, the Tigers, they swept the Tigers, but the Tigers were the team that had 3 at home, or were supposed to have 3 at home. They didn't get to have 3 at home.
Yeah.
Because the Giants swept them.
Yeah. Which I wasn't, even though I'm a Giants fan, I wasn't happy about the sweep, really.
Well,
I want to see more baseball.
You want to see more baseball. You want to see things competitive. I mean, last year's World Series to me was exciting. You had Madison Bumgarner coming out of the bullpen to save the game. And granted, Kansas City and San Francisco are not New York and Chicago or LA, but still, there's some intriguing players. If you like baseball, that was a great series.
I think Gregor Blanco purposely buffed that in the outfield just to give us a little bit more excitement.
Oh, you're talking about the near inside the park home run that almost tied the game. Yeah,
which they did an analysis on. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
They said, no, he wouldn't have made it.
He wouldn't have made it, no. They always like to say, oh, he would have beaten the throw. No, he wouldn't have.
Gordon, right? He wasn't a very fast runner.
No.
So. And then trudge around all those bases at the time? No, I don't think so. So it's actually good the way it ended.
Yes.
Okay, here we're going to get to our first commercial break, and here's the first trivia question. How many people are there in an official tug-of-war team?
Oh, my God. Now you're really stretching for some trivia here. I have to come up with a wild guess on that one.
Okay, the first email with the correct answer is a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouses, or email edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: how many people are there on an official tug-of-war team?
Wow.
All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We're going to come back with that exciting answer.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Figure that one out. Jeez.
It was either a Tiddlywinks question or a
Tiddlywinks.
tug-of-war.
God. I thought for a while it was going to rain today, but I guess no.
No, like some motorcycles, it better not.
Oh, you don't have that far to drive though.
No, but I actually went into San Francisco on it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I had a meeting.
God, the traffic this summer has been horrific because of all the tourists, I think. And a lot of people are staying home. And every time I leave the city, if I don't leave on Saturdays when I do my morning shift, and I get off at 10, if I don't leave by 10, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I go surfing and I'll get on the road at 1.
That's
It's ridiculous on a Saturday or Sunday.
No, Sunday's
So I just, I give up. I'm not going to do driving anymore from at that time.
See, I went to take Christian to the airport because he came in for a while. Sunday traffic going to Oakland. It's fine.
Yeah, really? Yeah, Sunday, that's the one thing I like about going to Raider games. I leave my house at about 11:45. I get to Oakland at about 1 o'clock. The game starts at 1:15, and there's no traffic at all. But if I go to an A's game at night, or a Warriors game at night, especially weeknights are impossible. Awful. And just getting across the Bay Bridge, the Richmond Bridge now is on a weeknight. What's going on with that? That's only been in the last couple of years. I think everybody is, commuting over to the East Bay and they're just bypassing San Francisco or something. I don't know. Got me.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I'd like to get into a little baseball and teams that are to watch. I think. Okay. Yeah, I think we should do that. It'd be kind of fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this very difficult trivia question.
I'm not going to be able to answer this one.
How many people are there in an official tug-of-war team?
A team or both teams? Just one team?
One team.
12 people?
I would have thought it would have been something like that.
14?
4.
4?
That's it. Just
Really?
4. That's an official.
I wonder if they have, if each person who is, on the tug of war team has an official position. Their strategy involved.
Goalie and
yeah.
what else they call them.
I don't know.
All right, let's talk a little baseball.
Yeah,
teams to watch.
Teams to watch. I think in the National League right now, it's quite obvious. The two teams I would really keep an eye on, obviously the St. Louis Cardinals were just amazing at home. They've been winning like 70% of their home games, and they're doing it with, you look at that lineup outside of Yadier Molina and Matt Holliday, who they have that really jumps out at you. And, pitching staff is not that impressive, but they're just winning a lot of games. The Dodgers, they went out and picked up some help, but they've got, two studs with Kershaw and Zach Greinke, and that lineup, with Yasiel Puig, even though he's been hurt. Some of the people they have on an everyday basis that are on that team, Adrian Gonzalez, they're kind of scary. The team that intrigues me, two teams that intrigue me, Pittsburgh, which last year was really looking good going into the postseason. Then the Giants, Madison Bumgarner, skunked them in the wild card game because they have two guys. One guy in particular, Garrett Cole, maybe the best pitcher in baseball, and Andrew McCutchen, who is one of the best hitters. Yeah. And that's really revitalized baseball in Pittsburgh. And then the other team that intrigues me are the Washington Nationals, who have kind of fallen off a little bit in recent days. But on paper, that team looks as good as any. I don't know. So if I had to pick 4 teams, and then the Mets, the Giants, and Chicago will fight for one of those wild card spots. I think Pittsburgh pretty much has a lever or a lock on, not a lock, but they're in the driver's seat right now to win the top wild card spot. So it's up to the Mets or Washington or the Cubs or the Giants to get one of those other wild card spots.
Well, when are the Cubs ever going to have a good team?
Well, at least they're better than they have been. I mean, they're 10 games over 500 last we saw. They won 5 in a row last we saw. They're playing. They've been playing some good baseball. They're a fun team to watch. I love this new guy, Chris Bryant. He's an exciting rookie. And Wrigley Field is alive. The thing about Wrigley Field, and I don't know if you've been there, Edward, it's a fun place to go because of the history, but just the atmosphere. People don't need to. The sad thing is, there are hardcores there, but they don't need to win for fans to go home happy as long as they have a good time.
Well, it's because it's the Cubs. If it was the White Sox, it's on the south
side.
A
little different thing. I mean, you go to Wrigley Field to have a good time. It's the atmosphere. Wrigley Field and Fenway Park are the two oldest ballparks in America, and they've got great atmosphere. And it's just, I've been to about 15 games at Wrigley Field over the years, and just have had a blast, going to those games. Just an absolute blast.
I remember going to the Houston Astrodome when it was still.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just I don't even remember how good the Astros were at the time, but they were playing the Mets. I just happened to be in Houston and said, I want to go to the Astrodome.
Well, the Astrodome was much maligned, but I remember going to a series there about 22 years ago, and I had a blast. Yeah. And it was such a quirky place. Getting from the press box down to the clubhouse was like going through the Winchester Mystery House and open this door and go down this hall, and then you'd be, fumbling around in the dark, and there's a door, and there's some old guy. Go down that hall and turn left at that pillar there, and you'll go down some stairs. It was just wild.
Why did they make it so difficult?
Well, it's I don't know. It was old. By today's standards, it would be considered ancient. It was built in the mid '60s, and it was supposed to be the newest, the 21st century. But it was
64, I think.
Yeah,
right?
64 or 65, one of those years. Yeah.
So they changed from the Houston Colt 45.
That's right. But Houston always should be playing baseball indoors because I don't know if you've ever walked around Houston during the summertime.
Oh yeah.
It's awful. It's like 90 degrees and 90 degrees humidity. Yeah. It's very uncomfortable. They do have a nice ballpark now in Houston, and the Astros are there. We're talking about the National League. Or the American League, I should say. I keep thinking of the Astros as the National League. I know, because they were. But they're like a game or two, or a year or two ahead of schedule right now. They may win the American League Western Division.
Well, speaking of hot, what about playing for the Diamondbacks?
Well, at least they have that removable dome. Yeah. And again, I went down there with the Giants several times, and it's very comfortable once the dome is, once the roof is over. But if it's not, and it's a hot day outside. Oh man! The thing is, it's dry heat. But
isn't Tampa Bay also?
Tampa Bay's got the permanent roof. Tampa Bay is a funky little stadium, though. And the problem is, it's in an area. It's in St. Petersburg, and it's in an area where there's not a lot of easy access to it. So they just don't draw very well.
They get 2,000 fans a night.
Well, they had a good team for a while. When Joe Madden was there, but they are just and they're right now they're about a 500 team. They're still very much in in the race for the wild card. But there's just something about that franchise, Edward. I don't know if that franchise is ever really going to be any good. I mean, I'm looking at the lineup here, and the only guy they seem to hang on to is Ivan Longoria, who's still a pretty good player.
But that's the funny thing is, you talk about so much investing in the salaries, but except for this year, the A's usually have a good team, and they usually are on the bottom rung of salaries, aren't they?
Well, they are. And that's Billy Beane, to his credit, has always managed to pluck guys like Josh Donaldson. He was a throw-in the trade when they traded away Rich Harden to the Chicago Cubs. He was a throw-in. He was a future prospect. Now they trade Donaldson away, and they get some other players. He's always had an eye for these young guys that are on the upward trend.
Not taking them cheap.
Yeah, taking them cheap. But the thing is, the injuries have hurt the A's this year. Injuries, and when you turn over a roster as they did, they turned over more than half their roster. To recreate that winning feeling, that's not something you can just manufacture. I mean, it's tough enough for the big guys who go out and get 2 or 3 free agents to turn it into a winning effort overnight. For teams that don't have that financial wherewithal, it's not easy at all.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a player on a team where it's kind of like a revolving door.
Mm-hmm.
How do you emotionally deal with it? We can all look on paper and say, yeah, this is a good trade here, and but then there's personalities that are involved, and who's new tonight.
Yeah.
And am I going to be on the trading block tomorrow?
Well, and that's why if you're in the Bay Area and you're in Northern California, you're watching the Giants. I mean, they have had some turnover, but you look at the core of this team. They built it from the ground up. Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Bill, Joe Panic, Duffy at third base, Matt Duffy. They're all homegrown guys. Madison Bumgarner, Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain. Those guys, the last two, are on the downward trend, but they're all homegrown. Sergio Romo, homegrown. So the core of that team. And so they built that up, and they have that what we call the winning culture, and that counts for a lot, even if you don't have as much talent. Because when you get in close games, you're more relaxed. You've done it before. So this team, there's
Hunter Pence has helped quite a bit. Just bringing
then you mentioned Hunter Pence.
His emotion.
Yeah. Now he's not a giant.
Homegrown.
Yeah, he's not a homegrown guy. But you think about what he has added to that team. In 2012, he came over in a trade after they lost Melky Cabrera to the steroid scandal.
Yeah.
And they didn't lose a beat. This guy came in, and he didn't have a great season statistically, but he carried a lot of those guys emotionally through some tough times. They were down 2-0 to Cincinnati in the first round of the playoffs, and he had that famous pep talk and really got him going. So
I don't want to go home. I want to play some more.
I want to play some more. He's a big kid, just wants to have fun.
So moving on to football.
Yes.
And we'll cut to a break and continue on with football. What's going on?
Well, we got summer camps are underway, and all that stuff about Tom Brady and the deflated footballs. I've heard enough about it. It's ridiculous. They got bigger problems like head trauma and players getting in trouble with the law off the field. And to worry about somebody having a football that was underinflated, making a big deal about this. I mean, Roger Goodell, come on, let's put our priorities in the right place here. And again, I'm kind of partial because Brady's a Northern California guy. He's done some great things. He's an amazing athlete. I mean, you think about it, he's had some great players around him, but he had 4 Super Bowls. That's as many as Montana had. That's pretty amazing. And not to mention that he's been in 3 others that he's lost. So he's been in 7 Super Bowls. Yeah. 7.
Well, and technically, theoretically, they shouldn't have won. They shouldn't have won.
No.
The last one.
It's interesting you bring that up. Sports Illustrated recently had a great article about Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll was, just raked over the coals for why would you take a chance of having the ball intercepted when you got Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, hand him the ball 1 yard to go. He's going to get it. There was no guarantee he was going to get in it. True. And here's the thing. They were probably looking for the run. Yeah. And if you watch the replay, that was a great play by the New England defensive back to get the ball. So and it did hurt the Seahawks and it hurt Pete Carroll. But the thing that I was impressed with in this article in Sports Illustrated, which is a terrific piece, by the way, is Pete Carroll is using that as a learning point. He, as a point of reference to kind of move on from. He's an interesting guy because he brings in, rap artists and CEOs and poets and athletes from other sports to kind of get some ideas from them and connects with the players so well on a different level than most coaches. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's so successful. Is he's such a creative guy. He comes up with these different ideas, but he has a way of relating.
It sounds like his players really like him.
They do, and it's a genuine. Again, I'm lucky enough. I knew Pete Carroll very slightly in high school. He was a year ahead of me in college. Interesting in story. He and Robin Williams, the late great comic, were part of the same high school class a year ahead of me at Redwood. Of course, opposite ends of the spectrum. One's an artist, one's an athlete. But Pete Carroll's a brilliant guy, and I mean, he's going to be around for a few more years too.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell you what, we're going to cut to our second commercial break here. No more questions on tug of war. Okay.
No, that sounds good to me.
All right. So this one's just as hard, I think. Now, who said in 1998, "The ball doesn't know how old you are"?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, I'll have to think
It's
about
kind of a
that.
tough one. The first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Who said in 1998, "The ball doesn't know how old you are"? And I'll give you a hint.
Oh,
It's not baseball,
okay.
and it's not basketball.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
So I figured I'd give you that one.
All right.
All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101 with Edward Brown and Bruce McGowan. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back.
My wife doesn't know where I am, and I told her I was going to be here, and she's just been too.
Almost done.
Yeah. Such a bad texture here.
Oh, my wife is the worst.
With the spelling, yeah. It's my
Yeah, I tell her, I say, just, some kind of spell check or something. So and then I look back at her and I go, "This is what you sent me." I can't read
What
that.
is this? It's
Yeah,
unintelligible.
So we got one more major.
Gotcha.
What do you want to?
Okay.
We're excited.
Maybe a little NBA. Do you want to do some NBA? Yeah.
Let me tell a couple of stories.
Sure. Couple of good stories.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the second commercial trivia question break, we asked this trivia question. Who said in 1998, "The ball doesn't know how old you are"?
God, I have no idea.
Mark O'Meara.
Oh, Mark O'Meara, the golfer. Yeah, pro golfer. There you go.
Because,
Yeah,
he probably did that when he was a little older.
It's interesting. I got to cover some of his fine moments at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro Am in down the peninsula. In Central California on the coast there. I covered a couple of his wins down there back in the late 1980s when he was just in his prime.
Yeah, didn't he win like back-to-back?
He did.
Couple of majors?
He did win a couple of majors. Yeah.
Don't hear about him too much anymore.
Yeah, well, he's had his moment in the sun.
Did they even have the senior circuit anymore?
Yeah, they do. They do. It's still popular. The big names, the ones we always remember, are long gone. But it's amazing. Some of these guys, they play well into their. The thing that impressed me at the British Open this year was Tom Watson. And a couple years ago, I mean, actually, what was it 3 or 4 years ago? He almost won the thing. He went to a playoff, and he was like, what, in his mid-50s? That's amazing.
Well, it's the endurance that you
Yeah.
have to go. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny because golf, you can see them doing really well. But do you remember they used to have old timers baseball?
Oh yeah.
And
They used to, not anymore.
not anymore. I mean, I think it was just kind of a novelty. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, back in the 80s, there
Yeah.
were a lot of games. 70s and 80s, a lot of games. A lot of old-timer games. I think what happened was some of the guys pulled muscles. Joe DiMaggio never, ever took part in an old-timers game. And he was asked why, and he goes, I don't want to look bad out there. I don't want people to remember me, stumbling after a fly ball. I want their memory to be the film of me making the great catch. And, how can you blame him?
That's true.
I mean, because you get to be over 50, and it's hard to run back and catch a fly ball. I'll never forget covering an old-timers game, and it was before a Giants game, and I'm talking to some guy, and he was just exhausted. I mean, I said, what's going on? He goes, well, it was Kurt Flood, actually.
Yeah.
And he says, let me catch my breath. Would you give me a minute to catch my breath? Okay. And Kurt was one of the nicest people you'd ever want to be. Great center fielder.
Yeah.
And he was not having fun out there. not at all. I mean, it was great for him to hang out with his buddies, but as far as playing, no, not having fun.
Well, the thing is too that the pitchers were not going to be throwing 90
No,
miles an hour.
no.
These guys you can still at least swing a bat.
Yeah, no, they're gonna throw up some what they call meatballs up there because the fans don't want to see a guy strike out. Come on,
Yeah. And do you remember the old home run derbies they used to have on TV?
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle versus Millie Mays.
They're going way, way back. I mean, I remember. Actually, I don't remember watching those live because that was back in like 54, 55, 56. But they syndicated them, and I think at certain places you can still find them.
Yeah,
they're kind of fun to watch.
It is, especially when you see Willie Mays in his prime.
Oh my God, Willie Mays in his prime, nobody better. And I was lucky enough as a kid to see him when he was still in his prime. He was still in his prime until about 34. As a matter of fact, in '65 he won the MVP. The Giants were in the pennant race right to the last week, and he had something like 52 homers, 120 RBIs, batted something like 318. Just amazing, just amazing. I'll never forget that summer going to a game at Candlestick Park, and Juan Marichal got into a beef with John Roseborough. Roseborough and him got in a fight. Marichal dropped the bat on his head. Sandy Koufax was pitching that day, and Koufax was so shaken up by the whole thing that later in the game he gave up a 3-run homer to Willie Mays, and the Giants won that game 4-3. And that moment is always stuck in my mind. I remember I was sitting out in the bleachers with my best friend. It was his 11th birthday or 13th birthday. And what a day to be at the ballpark.
Oh,
to see that.
To be that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, Willie was hitting 52 home runs, but he wasn't facing good pitching. I mean, he was only facing Koufax and Gibson,
Drysdale. Yeah, jeez. No, Willie's. The amazing thing about Willie today, even today, at the age of 84, and he's gotten a little slower with his mind. Obviously, as you get older, you do. But he can remember specific moments and specific pitches and in seasons that have been 50 years ago, and it's just amazing.
Come on, you got to give us your Willie Mays. I love when you imitate Willie.
Well, Willie, one time I went up to him and I'm doing an interview with him along with several other people after an Old Timers game, and some guy comes up to him and he says, because Willie played a lot of golf, he says, "Oh, that golf swing still keeps your stroke pretty good at the plate." Willie looks at me and goes, "What? What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, you hit 2 out of the ballpark." "Yeah, that was in batting practice." And the guy says, "Oh, you miss the fans. You miss." What are you asking me questions like that for? Of course I miss the fans. Hey, you miss baseball. If you've been out of baseball for a while, you will miss it. I don't know who you are, but I've been around here for a long time. I don't know where you come from. But Willie can be if you didn't come prepared to ask him the question the right way, he could embarrass you. Because he didn't suffer fools gladly. And Willie is really a beloved figure, not only in San Francisco, but he's considered the greatest player of all, the greatest living player. I guess actually Koufax, Bench, and Hank Aaron and Willie were considered the 4 greatest living players. But I think Mays, the best all-around player.
Well, sure.
He could do it all. He could hit, he could run, he could throw, he could hit with power, and he could catch the ball too.
Well, I remember reading an article about just a couple of years ago that he was like reminiscing about certain things, what made him a smart baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was something ridiculous. Like he was watching the catcher. He was having a problem with like his left foot or something. And so he remembered that when he was running around the bases, sliding into home.
Well, the other team was taking batting practice. His teammates would go into the clubhouse and get ready for the game. Willie would sit in his own dugout. He'd be by himself watching batting practice because he was watching how the hitters were hitting the ball and how he should be playing them. I mean, he had a book on each hitter and where to play them anyway, but on that particular day, there might be little subtle things that they were doing. And Candlestick Park, if you remember back in the day, was a crazy place to play. The wind would blow in 40 miles an hour sometimes from left and then cross the field. And if you're playing center field, it's a crosswind, so you'd read the ball and you'd move to it, and all of a sudden it's 30 feet over. And Willie never missed a fly ball because of the wind.
I understand about studying, but on batting practice, though, your pitcher's not pitching to these guys.
Right.
It could be a left-hander, it could be right-hander, it could be
sliders. It was probably something so subtle, but Willie felt that any little thing that he could glean, any little subtlety he could pick up was going to be something that would help him out. And you can't argue with results. I mean, the guy played till he was, 42 years of age, and he played pretty well up until he was 40.
And honestly, I can't remember, and I'm sure he's had errors. I can't remember one error.
He made a few, but I mean, it was usually because he got to a ball that he shouldn't have gotten to, and he might have made a bad throw, or he just might have dropped it. Very rarely did he drop a fly ball, but if he did, it was probably diving for it. I'll never forget a catch I saw him make in 1970, and he was almost 39. He goes out in the right center of the ball. A guy named Bobby Tolan of the St. Louis Cardinals hit this ball, or maybe he was with Cincinnati by that time.
This was him and Bonds. Right?
Him and Bobby Bonds, Barry's dad, went up for the ball. And you watch the picture. Bobby's head is about the same level as the top of the fence, which is about 8 feet, maybe 8.5 feet high. Willie is about 1.5 feet over the fence, reaches up over Bobby, makes the catch, robs Tolan of the home run, lands on top of Bobby, and is literally, it was a nationally televised game, literally knocked out for about 20 seconds. The wind was knocked out of him. Bobby reaches into his mitt, pulls out the ball. The umpire's running to the outfield. You're out! Just a great play. That was Willie Mays. Just amazing. So much fun to watch. And still a pretty sharp guy. 84 years of age. He's doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to meet him someday.
Oh, you got to meet Willie. The sad thing about Willie is his vision is pretty much shot, and now his hearing is going too. But you go up to him. He's not a big guy. He's 5'11", but he's built like a tank. And you grab his hand to shake it, and he grabs you in this vice grip, with his big, thick, meaty hand. And you just have to really, give a good crunch back, otherwise you're going to break your hand. He's got a strong grip, that Willie Mays. He's something else.
You wanted to just touch on a little basketball.
Yeah, the NBA season, I can't believe the training camp is, not that far away. And, of course, here in the Bay Area, we are singularly fortunate to have the NBA champions. Hard to believe. Never thought I'd be saying this again. The Golden State Warriors, NBA champions.
That's awesome.
It's great. I was lucky enough as a kid out of college to cover their first championship on the West Coast, and I was working for a little newspaper and just got credentialed and got to go to all the home games, all the playoff games. But there was something really special about this year's team.
And if I understand it correctly, LeBron was this one really devastated him, didn't it?
Well, and the thing was, Kevin Love and no Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
What does he expect? He did everything he could. They were in most of those games. That was a tough series for the Warriors. They played with a lot of heart. LeBron is clearly the best player in the game, and you think about it, LeBron has been to 4 consecutive NBA championships and won 2 of them.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good record. And, as much as we love Steph Curry out here on the West Coast, he's probably the best shooter in the game, LeBron is the best player in the game.
Yeah.
No question.
I just loved at the very end, the last game, how very classy, going up to Steph and to Kerr.
Yeah.
And congratulating him.
I went over to Oakland a couple of weeks ago. The Warriors had a debut of their new highlight film, which is a really nice film. It's about an hour long, and with all the looking back at their history and then the playoffs, and it was really neat. Steve Kerr showed up, the head coach, the general manager Bob Myers, who will get on the show coming up here in a couple of weeks, was there, and they all of them to a man said it still feels kind of surreal because they knew they were having a special season when they won that. I think it was a 23-game winning streak or 21-game winning streak or 16 or whatever it was. You knew they were going to have, but to go, and they got a lot of breaks, no injuries. The only injury was David Lee, and that allowed Draymond Green to step in and become a star.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just something kind of, you knew about halfway through that season that, wow, we're seeing something special here. And you could feel it. And they got lucky. They didn't have to play San Antonio. They didn't have to play the Clippers. And they got to play Cleveland when LeBron's, cohorts, Irving and Love weren't there. So they had some breaks. But you got to have breaks to win.
And I think you watch this Anthony Davis.
Man.
A very good player.
He is going to be something else. And now that Alvin Gentry, the Warriors' former top assistant, is head coach down there in New Orleans, I think you're going to see New Orleans move a step further, maybe into the second round or maybe even at the conference finals next year with a little luck.
Are they talking about any rule changes?
That's a good question. I haven't heard anything right off the top of my head, but
maybe something about the 2-minute rule at the end.
Yeah,
the fouls. That sort of thing.
One thing I don't like about the NBA, and it's true about college too, is the constant fouling at the end of the games to get the possession back. And I understand it, but it takes away from the game. Let the game flow. I don't remember it being that pointed back in the day.
Most of the players were, except for Wilt wasn't a very good free throw shooter, but they taught these guys how to shoot free throws.
Yeah, they should know how to. There's no excuse for shooting under 60%. If you're out there and you're an NBA player, you should have minimum actually 65%. You and I could shoot 65%.
Yeah,
seriously.
That's true.
Even
especially remember, you got to relax. Nobody's guarding you.
Yeah.
Of course, I know you're running up and down the court a lot. That's so funny because we were talking to Jim Barnett about that. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I said, yeah, but you know what? Listen, the guy's running up and down the court. I can see it. He goes, yeah, but what about Rick Barry? Oh, well, yeah, but he was shooting underhand.
That's right. He did shoot underhand, the old granny style, I guess. And Wilt tried that too, and it didn't work. But Rick had that little flick of the wrist. He hit 90%, I think, 91%.
Well, and Leandro Barbosa kind of shoots a little bit odd.
He does. They all have their. I remember Hal Greer. This is going way back in the '60s. A great jump shooter for the guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. Used to shoot a jump shot.
Oh, yeah.
Hal
We're
Greer.
so used to it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it just made him feel comfortable. So
I wish they could just let me do a layup.
I'd always get mine swatted away.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to cut to our third and final commercial break trivia question here. Again, we're talking just miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous.
Golf star Vijay Singh comes from which country?
Oh, I got that one.
You know that one?
Yeah, I do know that one.
I thought it was one thing,
Yeah.
but I was wrong.
Okay.
The first email with the correct answer wins a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Golf star Vijay Singh, from what country does he come from? All right, so when we come back, we're going to have some closing comments. One of the comments is going to be from Greg Norman. And
the shark, the great white shark.
The shark, yeah. He finally won one, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He won a couple, actually, I think.
Yeah, he kept. I remember he always a bridesmaid, never a bride for years.
Tough breaks for him. He was like the Brooklyn Dodgers, you know?
Yes, that's right.
Always next year.
Them bums.
Them bums.
All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We will be back with some closing comments.
All right. Good fun. All right. Hopefully get you somebody for next week. I got a bunch of guys that are supposed to call me back.
You're out next.
I'm out next Tuesday. I'll be back the following week.
Okay, and then do you want to shoot for Thursday then?
Actually, that week I am going to be gone Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday because
we'll just stay with Tuesday.
Tuesday for the next one,
yeah.
And then we'll go. Yeah.
Okay.
My wife, I can't believe she didn't remember that I wasn't going to be home.
My wife forgets a lot of these things.
That's all right.
I don't know what your schedule's like. She always wants me to remember hers, you know?
Yeah.
Didn't you know I had a doctor's appointment? Didn't you know I was getting my hair done today?
Yeah.
I have it in my calendar.
I have it right here. I won't be home at 5 p.m. as we're doing 2 shows today. Yep. But she didn't look. That's all right. All right, no big deal. No big deal.
Always got to be careful, too, showing the wife that.
What's that?
The email that says, see, I told you. Because it's right and still be wrong.
Yeah, no, you don't want to show up your wife. You can't win arguments.
No.
Women, you can't
win
arguments.
I learned that in counseling.
Yeah.
You can write all you want, you still won't be happy.
No. Better to have a happy wife, happy life.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's close this baby out.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we asked this trivia question, Bruce raised his hand and said, I know what the answer is. Golf star Vijay Singh comes from which country?
It comes from the Fiji Islands.
That is true.
Yes.
You
thought India?
India
Or maybe Sri Lanka, but no.
Yeah.
I think his relatives are from India. I'm not sure about that.
Well, that doesn't count.
Yeah, but he's from the Fiji. He's from
Fiji.
He's from Fiji. I think he's pretty much retired from golf. He may be on the senior tour, but he had a great career.
He
Big
did.
guy.
I know. How many people from Fiji play golf?
Not too many.
Probably a national hero.
I'm no doubt.
That's like our friend Paul Kingsman for for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Backstroke. I don't think they've won anything since.
Well,
He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, here's our thoughts for the day. Greg Norman said, I owe a lot to my parents, especially my mother and father.
I would hope so.
And I stayed up all night playing Texas Hold'em with a deck of tarot cards.
Ooh.
I got a royal flush and 5 people died.
Ooh.
That's not good.
That's good. I like that one.
Greg didn't say that one. No. I said that one.
You said that one.
I said that one.
All right.
Okay, so next week, who do you think we'll have on?
Well, I'm working on a soccer guest and a basketball guest, so we're kind of up in the air right now. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll have them fight it out. Whoever wins.
Maybe we'll get both of them.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Or spread it out.
Yeah.
We like to spread it out.
Okay.
Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. Why? Because we're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering.
And who doesn't like free vacations?
Exactly. Yeah. We're going to be discussing sports topics. We're going to try to do it from a business perspective, as we always try to throw a little business in there.
Sure.
Okay.
Throw a little business your way.
Exactly. And Yeah,
No
maybe-
pun intended.
No pun, no.
Yeah.
Ba-dum-bum.
Is this thing on?
Yeah. We're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions, and we want to thank our audience for listening. And on behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
All right, doing the books. Good job.
You know, kind of a little too early, but that's okay.
Ah,
Let him fill in with commercials or
I
something.
better hustle home.
Yes.
Because my wife and daughter are hungry.